let people know about the 2020 campaign here. So, yeah, let's go talk to some Mainers. Afternoon, sir. My name is Patrick Little. I'm running for office. Got a moment.
Don't actually, sorry.
Okay.
Is the sound okay, guys?
Afternoon, sir. My name is Patrick Little. Running for office. You got a moment?
I got
Well, we'll see how many people we get to talk to. Oh, good afternoon, sir. My name is Pat Little. I'm running for office. You got a moment?
I'm actually just visiting.
Oh, well. What do you think of me so far? And what do you like about me?
People are very friendly.
Well, you realize the weather's only like this a few weeks out of the year, right? And it gets pretty cold and wet, especially here on the coast during the winter. I grew up down in Europe in Maine. Yeah, pretty,
what else?
and when they try to approach these places of birth, that the IDF opens fire on women and children.
I think that's I'm aware what you're referring to, but I think it's a nuanced issue that may not be as cut and dry as you're suggesting.
So, we have footage of all this stuff happening and the dead kids and stuff that the IDF shoots. I mean, it's, when you say it's nuanced, that implies I'm missing a subtlety. So, is there something I'm missing? So, for example, I can show you pictures of shirts that IDF soldiers wear that say in Hebrew, one shot, 2 kills, and it's a picture of a Palestinian woman with a sniper's target over her womb. And they actually wear this around.
I would be disappointed.
It is the case. Would you like to see the picture, sir?
No, I'm going to continue watching.
Okay.
But,
And what if I could tell you that I could also prove that at all levels of government and military intelligence and the IDF itself, Israel has been supporting ISIS consistently in its genocidal program against ethnic groups, minorities, and places. I have the footage, sir.
I'm sure you do. Well, I'm not sure you do, but I would be disappointed if that were the case as well.
Well, prepare for disappointment because there's going to be a lot of information coming out as I'm running for office in 2020. The name is Pat, and you can email me at pat@globalrevolution.us. Hopefully when you vote in the Democrat primary in 2020.
We'll see. Pat, are you recording this conversation as well?
Yes.
Okay. I prefer if you not use this footage.
Okay. Is he on the camera?
Not now. It's a live stream though.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is public ground, so...
I understand, but I'm just saying in the future,
Okay.
to the extent that...
So I'll announce...
But we don't edit it or chop it up or make it sound like you said something you didn't.
Yeah, no, this
I
is not...
am just saying, going forward, as far as this is important, that's very nice.
You were the first person I talked to today. First thing I'll say is I'm live streaming. Would you like to go live stream?
That's a good idea.
Thank you for the info, sir.
Take care.
You too, thank you. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Patrick Little. I'm doing a live stream. I'm running for office. No? Okay, they're not. Afternoon, folks. My name is Patrick Little. I'm running for office, doing a live stream. You want to talk a little bit about some issues or... Oh, well, I'm running for a national office. I'm running for president. Well, I'm running, hoping to win the Democrat primary in 2020.
Oh, really?
So I believe I'm an America First Democrat. I believe we should stop foreign aid to other countries until we take care of the people in this country that are needy. Do you care to guess the country that gets more foreign aid than all the other countries we give foreign aid to combined? Pat.
Pat what?
Little.
Pat Little?
Yes. So there's one country that gets more foreign aid from us than all of the other countries we give aid to combined. Do you care to guess what that country is? I'll give you a hint. We have footage confirming that their head of their intelligence agency, the head of their military, and key people in their parliament wish for the United States to continue supporting ISIS as they did in 2015 and 16. That's the hint. This is the country that gets more aid from the United States than all the other countries we give aid to combined. And we don't have them on camera, just me, right?
Good.
Good. I am live streaming this now. So I'll give you another hint. In the early 1960s, this country stole 400 to 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium from a facility much like the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, a little bit south of here. It was in Pennsylvania. Now, you never heard of this before, that a country stole 400 to 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium. So in other words, you put high explosives around it in a sphere and you've got a nuclear device. Now, can you want to guess what the country was yet? No, close. though, in terms of geography. No, that's a good guess. About 3 years ago, that would have been my guess too, given what I've heard. May I continue? Okay, another hint. In June 1967, this country jammed all radio communications and wireless communications coming from a U.S. naval intelligence vessel off the coast of Egypt. After jamming the communications, the pilots radioed to their air base and said, "We have confirmation that this is an American ship. Do you wish us to proceed with the attack?" And their control tower responded, "Yes. We're initiating the countdown to attack." And they counted down. It wasn't in English, in another language. Until the attack, and the pilots opened fire with rockets, cannons, and machine guns on the USS Liberty. This day, not this day, but on that day in June 1967. So, you care to guess what happened to the lifeboats when they were lowered into the water after the ship took so much damage the crew became convinced they were all going to drown? They shot the life rafts, which was a violation of the Geneva Convention and a war crime. So, the people commanding those things by international law face hanging. Now, when the planes themselves, after dropping napalm on the people that came above the deck to be triaged, could not sink the ship. By the way, 2/3 of the ship's crew was casualty in this attack. 2/3 wounded or dead. They then sent in torpedo boats and said, well, this country now needs to use torpedo boats. So they sent in the torpedo boats, and this whole time, the U.S. Sixth Fleet was right nearby, but couldn't hear the cries for distress calls because all of the distress frequencies were blocked, which is another violation of the Geneva Convention, also a hangable offense in international court. Now, can you guess whether or not the ship survived the attack? The ship itself. So 2/3 of the crew was, at this point, was wounded or dead. Well, the ship stayed afloat thanks to the genius of the U.S. Navy and its great training programs and damage control that they had for ship's crew. And so one of the creative men on board said, you know what, the first thing that these pilots did was attack our comm tower and took out all of our radio equipment, the antennas for the radio equipment. So he went down to the calibrations lab below deck, ran a cable to the backup antenna that was being recalibrated down below, and managed to use non-standard radio frequencies and channels to get the message out indirectly to the U.S. Sixth Fleet that they were under attack by airplanes and torpedo boats from this country. And it's the same country that I've been talking about this whole time. You want to guess what the country was? Israel. Crazy, right? In the news we hear it's our greatest ally, right? Well, I'm going to go over just a few things about why you always hear about it being our greatest ally in the news. Do you care to guess what particular persuasion the children that just inherited control of Fox News are from Rupert Murdoch, News Corp? They're Zionists, Zionist Jews. Now what about CNN? You think, okay, if Fox News is conservative, controlled Israeli, CNN, that's left and right. It's got to be different too, right? No, not true. Zucker, also a Zionist Jew, controls CNN. Now, you might say, okay, the New York Times, the most famous paper in the world, that can't be controlled by a Zionist Jew. Well, you'd be right, because it's controlled by more than one. The Sulzberger Trust.
Sounds like a Jew conspiracy. Like, we should all band together against them in some way.
Well, I think that fairness in media reporting would have prevented the Iraq War.
Keep walking.
All right. My name's Patrick Little. Vote for peace in 2020. That's right, folks. No more wars for Israel. Faulty Israeli intelligence was what caused us to invade Iraq. It was sold on the Zionist, Jewish, supremacist-controlled media. As fact, it was fabricated lies, and we lost dozens of thousands of troops, and we lost many more wounded. We had traumatic brain injuries for our troops. We had lost limbs. We had incredible suffering for the families, separations leading to divorces. I myself was deployed to Afghanistan and know many a Marine and a serviceman that lost their marriage due to just the fact that you had to deploy. So deployment in and of itself is something that we should wish to do as infrequently as possible for our troops. Let's see if anyone else did that. Well, good afternoon, folks. I'm doing a live stream. My name's Patrick Little, and I'm running for office. Do you have a moment? Okay, thank you for your time. Have a good day. Really quite beautiful. So the mind virus that's perpetrated by the perpetuated by the Zog boxes, or as you might call them, televisions and radios, has clearly come here. Saying no borders means no sovereignty. You don't have to be one particular political persuasion or another to recognize that countries have borders, and without borders, you just have a global government, which is something that most people don't want. Let's find some more people here that want to talk. Good afternoon, sir. My name's Patrick Little. I'm live streaming and I'm running for public office. You got a moment to talk to me? Okay, thank you. Ladies, good afternoon. I'm running for office and I'm live streaming. You got a moment to discuss some issues?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess we got some busy people this, what is it, Friday?
Yep. So we finally replaced the part of our microphone that got mamsered in the Antifa attack, so hopefully it's a bit better sounding for you guys.
Thank you. And are we being open with identity now, or?
Yeah, why not?
Thanks, Mark. Thank you for fixing that. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Patrick Little. I'm running for office and I'm live streaming. You want to talk about some political topics today?
Oh, I think we're from Colorado.
Well, that's great. I'm running for national office. Welcome to my beautiful childhood home state of Maine. How do you like it here?
I like it a lot.
Have you been up near the mountains here? They're not quite as big as the ones in Colorado, but we got some nice ones south of here. You got Mount Agamenticus, and you got some other ones about to go over north New Hampshire. You got Mount Washington.
Okay.
Beautiful mountain stuff here. What part of Colorado are you from? Denver. Okay, so from the city, so kind of also a city that's kind of surrounded by more rural areas like this one. Not like down in New York or Boston where you got lots of sprawl in every direction. Beautiful driving on the I-70 through there. So, what are your favorite parts about Maine?
The ocean, the seafood.
Yeah, the seafood's pretty good. We were at Barnacle Billy's last night down in Kennebunk. Good, very good. There's also the Etc. restaurant. I recommend that, especially if you like flaky fish like haddock and stuff. They got good fried seafood there. Now, what do you think the biggest issue facing this country would be in terms of foreign policy?
In terms of foreign policy, international agreement around climate change, real action, better than we've done.
Now, does that mean we do more or less international trade?
International trade?
Yeah. Like without tariffs and stuff. And there's a reason I'm asking that because it ties into the climate agreement.
Well, I tend to be more of a free trader, I guess.
Okay, so
But I'm
free
not sure if
trade
that's it.
and climate control, climate change control are some issues that are important to you.
I would say the climate issue is most important.
With a priority on climate change control. So what if I were to tell you that when countries have free trade and when some countries have regulations like, you can't dump lead into the oceans in this country, right? But there are countries that don't have regulations like that, like China. And when you do free trade to countries then that have a license to pollute without the regulation, then you just export the pollution to that country. And it also hurts us then in terms of, so it's cheaper then to make the product with pollution than it is without. Having scrubbing smokestacks, filters, and take the toxins out of the water before the wastewater is released, that takes money. So it's then cheaper to produce goods in China, for example, or one of the other countries with less environmental regulation. Yeah. And if we have free trade with that country, then we're essentially we're not just exporting the pollution, we're also exporting our jobs there. So
maybe. Statistically, we're looking at a relatively small chunk when you look at what's happened to, for example, manufacturing jobs and so forth. So that, to me, is kind of one of those statistics don't seem to be permeating the actual narrative.
There are almost no manufacturing jobs left in this country compared to before the free trade agreement that Nixon signed with China.
Yeah, it's true, and that's part of the explanation. But it's not the. I would probably look to the evidence on this and say that to things like automation is taking more of those jobs than exporting them to other countries.
But the automation also increases the efficiency of labor, whereby there's less men required, but they can get paid more, theoretically, if the business is ethical and shares the profits. Now, my question would be: would you support tariffs against countries that are able to produce things cheaper than us because they don't have environmental protection, things
I think
like
it
that?
offers a lever, right, to
Okay.
encourage them to do the things we want them to do.
But at least offset the cost of the environment that they're imposing on us. We still enjoy the same ocean as China does. It all circulates around. So if they're dumping alkaline waste into the ocean or lead as a result of manufacturing batteries or something like that, make it so that there's a punitive tariff, and that way they can't undercut our manufacturing by polluting the environment, and also they wouldn't have the incentive to treat the environment.
Well, and I think even more important to me would be to really start doing things like carbon taxes and really imposing, the cost of what we're doing in the environment on ourselves.
Well, in order to do so, if you have a carbon tax in this country but not in other countries, then the cattle ranchers here would go out of business, and then the ones in Brazil would thrive.
Right. This is an issue. We know this, right? We can impose all these costs on ourselves and have no actual impact, right, in terms of the climate we're going to experience. So this is again why you see the biggest international failure right now is we're not even pretending to grapple with this in a meaningful way. I don't think the Paris Accords are going to do what we need to do in order to avoid the.
Controlling climate change and preventing it is one of your big concerns. And let's use this issue as
What are you running for? You're running for Congress?
president. That's why I'm talking to someone from out of state, Colorado. So let's use the
What party are you running on?
Democrat. So let's say that let's use this as just a symptom of overall issues, the problems with global governance. So it would be, given current agreements and international bodies that we have, how well are things like genocides against ethnic and religious minorities throughout the world being stopped by these international bodies? Would you say not very well or very well?
Which bodies? I mean, you're referring
The
to
UN, and NATO, all these things. How well are these things preventing genocides?
Not well. I mean,
Not very well at all.
historically speaking, in the last several decades.
So, and I'd say also that these international bodies are also failing to address things like pollution and such in terms of exporting pollution to other countries and such. So I'm running as an America First Democrat because I think that we can only incentivize other countries to do as we wish them to do, for example, not import our pollution and our jobs, if we give them incentive to do so. So I'm running as an American First Democrat because I don't have faith in institutions that I can't prove work. So I have faith that we can influence people from the U.S., but I don't have faith in international bodies.
Well, these things do different things, right? So you can point, they have a myriad of objectives. NATO's objectives are not what it was when it was devised, right? It's a very different set of, maybe there's a return of that original purpose.
Okay.
But it's doing more and different things now. I think to talk about the UN in a monolithic term about its succeeding or its failing, it's doing different things, right? With the World Health Organization and the UN, the things that they've done in terms of health and poverty is very positive. Right? So it's a very mixed story. I think it's a mistake to say the UN has failed, or the World Health Organization has failed, or NATO has failed.
Well, I don't see them as reliable bodies for achieving the objectives assigned to them. So, for example,
But that's by design, right? That's part of the.
Exactly. So let me.
But that's the best that could be done.
Can I get to why I think it's by design?
Well, because it is. But structurally, the way that they're governed.
So the UN has passed the most condemnations of which? Oh, I just gave it away. Which country on earth? Israel. So the UN has passed more resolutions against Israel than against any other country in the world. Now, has the genocide against the Palestinians stopped? Have the indigenous Palestinians, be they Christian or Muslim, there's both, been allowed to return home to the homes that the Zionists kicked them out of?
But that's not. I mean, that's not the intention of that mechanism. I guess that's what you're saying.
The
right?
United Nations is there largely to prevent genocide. And when you take up land from people and continuously force them into a smaller and smaller area, and whether your military wears shirts that say one shot, two kills in Hebrew with a picture of a pregnant Palestinian woman with a sniper's target over her, and I can show you the pictures if you like, that is genocide. What's the one that the Israelis wear for when they're targeting children? They say the smaller the target, the harder the...
The harder to hit.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's... they're wearing shirts that literally advocate killing of women and children. Civilians. They're not dressed up with like an RPG on their back. They're just in civilian garb. And there's a reason. So the UN appears to be against what Israel's doing, right? What if I were to tell you that every single country in the earth, with the exception of a very short list, and I'll tell you which those are very shortly, is controlled and operated by a Zionist Rothschild bank? Do you care to guess the countries that recently had regime changes that did not have Rothschild banks that now do?
Wait.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
So, Saddam Hussein. So the United States has a Rothschild bank. Baron von Rothschild was the one sitting controlling the Jekyll Island meeting in 1913.
I don't know what that is.
It's the meeting that set up the legislation that the Congress passed to give us the Federal Reserve. So, which is a Zionist bank. It was the fourth time the Rothschilds have tried and this time succeeded to set up a...
So the Federal Reserve is seeing its bank right now?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
The head of the meeting was Lord Rothschild. You can look at them. This is not conspiracy. You can look at this. And the previous three incarnations of the Federal Reserve Bank, which went under different names, were
So
also...
what would you say? Who is pulling the levers of the Federal Reserve now?
The Rothschilds.
Really, not board members
Oh,
that have public meetings and minutes that you can read and see the decisions made. You can connect that to external actors who are
the City of
telling them-
London, which is a sovereign state within England. The Rothschilds have their own country. You know this. It's called the City of London. You look that up. It's a city inside the metropolitan area known as London. It's its own thing. It's only a few square acres or hectares. So here's the interesting thing. Every country in the world has these Rothschild-affiliated central banks. Now, there are a few that didn't. Now, Gaddafi said we're not going to have a Rothschild
All right,
bank.
hey, I'm sorry to do this. I'm on vacation.
Gaddafi, Hussein.
So I got to call it a
Okay.
day. But best of luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So, as I was saying, the UN is a sham. It's designed to make it look like they don't agree with things that are going on while Israel gets away with murder.
Crunch all day long.
Right now, I'm running for office. Would you have a moment to talk about political issues? Okay, have a good day. Thank you. Live streaming. I'm running for office. I was wondering if you had a few moments to discuss issues that were important to you.
I don't right now, I'm sorry.
didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, if you got to get going, I appreciate your time.
What you
Thank
say?
No, thank you very much. My name's Wes.
Nice to meet you.
I didn't hear you. What you said?
Oh, I'm just running for office in 2020 and seeing what the concerns were out on the street today.
How long are you going to be out?
Probably another 10, 15 minutes. I'm starting to sweat a little.
Yeah,
Uh,
same here.
If I keep the
sorry.
suit on too long, I'll have
If
to
you
drag
don't
my...
run in support of Trump, you're not worth it.
Well, I tell you one thing. I want to put America first, but I want to do it without putting Israel in front of us. So I think that we need to have
We're
America
on the
first.
same wavelength on that.
Oh, well, thank you for your support, sir. The name's Patrick Little. I'll be on the Democrat ticket.
What's your name?
Patrick Little. So I'm for things like regulating huge corporations that poison our people with these pharmaceuticals that become deregulated in this pump. I'm for getting rid of the impediments to holistic medicine and preventative treatment. I'm for getting rid of for-profit prisons and things that incentivize the system to lock people up and keep them in the system instead of rehabilitating them, improving their lives. And I am for improving, using money that we send abroad to terrorist countries, using that money here at home to do things like subsidizing trade schools and apprenticeships. So I am someone who wants to take care of this country's
What
burden.
you gotta do,
But I want,
stand up to the typical Democrats and get their asses kicked.
Well, I don't think there are any traditional Democrats left. I think we only got these
They're still
neo-conservative
holding the power.
Well, I tell you one thing.
All those
Dianne Feinstein.
Clintonites.
Well, for some reason, people are still voting for Feinstein, who's a neo-conservative Democrat over in
Because in San
California.
Francisco, I know Frisco. I lived there for 25 years.
Okay.
The Democrats get on the ballot.
Oh well, even then,
It's a one-party dictatorship there.
I agree. But I think that if Trump's doing the America First thing, I think the Democrats should be doing that, and then we discuss the issues from two sides of the aisle.
They
How
ain't gonna.
both sides want to put America
The
first.
Dems aren't going to get anywhere unless, for once, they pull their heads out of their assholes and listen to the people for a change instead of trying to
absolutely.
dictate agendas to us. That's why we voted for Trump, because he is speaking our language.
And he's starting to clean out the Republican Party a little bit, but I'm not so much pro big business and stuff. I'm more for the worker. So I like what he's doing and talking about putting
I got my
America first and keeping us out of foreign wars.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is say, okay, I agree with him on that. But what I want to focus on domestically would be, things like controlling Monsanto, keeping them from poisoning the food supply, doing things like stopping the Sackler family that owns Purdue Pharma from intentionally making it too easy to get opioids. These heroin in a pill.
What's got your name on the card?
LittleRevolution.us is my campaign site. I'm running very low budget. I actually ran against Feinstein in 2018 in the primary in
So
California.
you know what I mean about the one-party dictatorship.
I absolutely know about it, but I did beat 20 candidates. But the only unfortunate thing is that there were 32 candidates.
The worst candidate out there I've seen in my life, Gavin Newsom.
Oh, well, I tell you one thing. There's a guy who makes songs about him. What's the guy who makes songs about Newsom?
Newsom?
Yeah, the ranch song. The guy who makes the ranch songs.
Oh, Grant McDonald.
Grant McDonald. Look him up. He makes some songs about Newsom.
His whole
Hey, I
career,
will definitely check out your website.
his whole
Little Revolution.
his
Check
whole
it out.
political
Check out
career
Graham
was based on all out war on the poor, especially the homeless.
Well, and I tell you,
For the sake of all that gentrification, like what happened to Market Street.
well, I think the gentrification is a result of a bunch of manipulative policies designed to enrich politicians who also are,
Controlled by those people with money.
and also who own a lot of real estate in places they rezone in such ways where that. goes up
But you
in
know,
price.
if Bernie got elected, he'd be treated the same way that Trump's been getting treated.
I think that we need to operate outside the party on both sides, outside of the establishment on both sides of the
You know
aisle.
what my favorite quote on all of it is?
What's
You're
that?
too young probably to remember it.
All of it?
My favorite quote about politics.
Okay.
You're probably too young to remember him, but he was a major presidential candidate, especially for independent. Governor George Wallace of Alabama.
Oh yeah, he wanted to cut foreign aid to a lot of
You
countries.
know what he said?
What's that?
About the two parties, there ain't a dime's worth of difference.
And unfortunately, that's
And
the
when they
case.
started winning, they shot him.
Well, they also did that to a lot of people that talk about the true nature of who controls this country.
I know.
But
I spent 3 years in the 70s, 24 hours a day on the roads in the White House protesting Nixon. He was there. I know politics.
Johnson was even worse than Nixon then.
Hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today?
Yep. Well, thank you for your support, sir. Don't forget to vote in 2020. Get registered for the primaries. Patrick Little.
What was the name of that organization? Revolution what?
LittleRevolution.us.
Okay.
I'm also a Marine Corps veteran of Afghanistan against foreign wars of aggression for Zionist powers. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
People loving that bass boomer.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, you got to put America first, and it's not just American businesses that should be considered in that equation. It should also be American workers. And that's the one thing that I think the Republicans are really missing right now, especially with that tax bill that got passed that, in terms of what didn't sunset in 2022 or whatever the year was, where they sunset the workers' benefits, where it only helped the 1%, which is overwhelmingly Jewish. So let's go ahead and help the average worker. Let's not pass tax packages that are designed to help Jews only in the long term. So let's, well, the Jews and their friends, I should say, because unless you're on board with the agendas they've got in this country, you're not going to be allowed to hold on to your company. And Henry Ford can testify to that. Even he caved. The great Henry Ford.
We got 270 viewers, by the way.
Oh, well, I hope you're enjoying beautiful Portland. This was one of the cultural centers near where I grew up in Portland, Maine, where I grew up in York Harbor, Maine. And, coming out to the city was something that was like a special event when you were a kid. Coming up here or going down to Portsmouth, simple folks from a pretty sparsely populated coastline like going to their cities. And I tell you one thing, if you ever come up to Maine, we've got really good prices on really high quality seafood. And that's coming from people who like seafood. I grew up next to the coast, so of course I only like beef, right? Oh, let's see if there's anyone else. I think good afternoon, sir. My name's Pat. I'm running for office. I was wondering if you had a moment.
So how much time do we got in the meter?
Oh,
How much did we put in? 40 minutes?
2:30 is our cutoff. What time is it now? Yeah, we should start heading back in that direction, and I can stop for like a few 2-minute conversations. Good afternoon, folks. My name's Pat. I'm running for public office. I'm doing a live stream. Anyone want to talk for a moment? No.
Bruno Doberman says, God bless you, Pat.
We got to take care of our workers, and we've got to be democratic American patriots if we want to get those workers taken care of. Now, Trump brags about the bill that got passed, but what he needs to do is call on Congress to come back and say, we got to stop just worrying about this 1%. In terms of things that didn't sunset, the American worker got nothing out of that tax bill. So, these people that are just chopping up pork belly for each other, just putting pork and barrel stuff in everything, they're the only ones that got any long-term things that don't sunset. And we need to amend that tax bill to make it so that the stuff that benefits the 1% goes away or sunsets, and the stuff that benefits the American worker and the people that aren't involved in the Zionist elite 1%, their stuff gets sunsetted or goes away. The workers need to be able to keep more of their paychecks, because it's almost impossible in rural white Maine to keep your family alive. And they're workers here. In Maine, the typical worker out in countryside's white, and it's getting harder and harder for them to pay their property taxes, to pay for all these different programs that are designed to enrich the rich. And most of those rich are disproportionately Jewish, and if they don't play ball with the Zog, they lose their factories or the businesses or the retail stores or whatever. And remember to read Henry Ford's The International Jew. Henry Ford did more to help American workers than any other industrialist I can think of. He took all of the increases in productivity that he got from his innovative ideas and used that to elevate and lift his workers with him. He was a rising tide that lifted all ships, and this is the spirit of the type of legislation that I would like to see the Congress pass, that I would sign off on as president, where the worker gets lifted with the overall economy, and where those robber baron ships that are just taking all the resources out of the bay so no one else gets to have any, they get dealt with. We'll talk, we're focusing more on economics today, so I won't get too much into that. If anyone wants to talk about political issues, anyone got any issues they care about?
Where do we get pot brownies?
What? I'm sorry?
Where do we get pot brownies?
Oh, I'm not sure, ma'am.
You're running for office and you don't know
Well,
where you can legally buy pot here?
Well, I'm running out of California. I'm running for president, but you can legally buy pot in Maine now?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, I didn't. I haven't been back here in a few years. When did that happen?
So you're running for office in California and you're talking here?
I live in California, but I'm running for president in the whole country.
Against Trump?
I'm running against, in the primary, the other Democrat candidates. I'm running right at.
Who?
First, you run so if you're running for a Democrat.
Cameraman.
Oh yeah, he's my camera guy.
Who?
Oh, Mark.
I know.
Where's he from?
He's from Pennsylvania,
Yeah, that's
originally. But what was I going to say? The point I'm making here is that before you can run against the other party, you have to first defeat your opponents in your own
You run
party.
Libertarian.
Third party tends not to do well in this country. I think I can help the American worker
know
without
that.
going third party.
You know that.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Have a good day. Well, we're approaching the end of our time on the meter, so we're going to go ahead and say goodbye for now, and thanks for tuning in. We'll be hitting you again soon from this political channel in the near future. Stand by for updates on Gab, gab.ai/Patrick_Little. And, well, if you're listening from all over the country and you haven't been to Maine yet, don't forget to come visit the state, especially in the summer or fall. It's beautiful. Have a good day, folks. Bye.